This is where fishing began for me back in the mid-1960s. In those days, the call of the cuckoo was a common sound in the Crimple Valley. These days you'd be lucky to hear one at all, which is rather sad. Catching the wild brown trout which inhabit Crimple Beck is just part of the package. There's always lots of wildlife interest to be seen at the waterside. These days the beck is virtually unfished, but in my younger days there were always a few boys from Pennell School on the banks, at weekends and during summer evenings. The Crimple Beck is a typical North Country stream with shallow riffles and deep pools. Generally speaking, it's in the deep pools that you would expect to find the trout. Trout in these small streams are acutely aware of bankside disturbance. At the first hint of danger they'll flee for cover, either in a cavern beneath tree roots or under a big boulder. To catch them it's necessary to adopt a very stealthy approach. The key to success is getting your bait to the trout before it actually detects your presence. For bait I'm using earthworms, and I expect the response to be pretty much instant if a trout is in residence. No joy on this occasion though. In fact I end up snagged on riverbed rocks, which is a common problem. A pair of grey wagtails have a nest under the plank bridge. slightly tatty peacock butterfly basks on the farm track. This one's an unusual aberration. Note the lack of eyes on the lower wings. Here's another peacock with normal markings, nectaring on blackthorn blossom. Meanwhile, a comma takes the sun from the comfort of a stinging nettle leaf. Time for another crack at the trout. This pool just a short distance upstream of the plank bridge looks promising. It's another blank. There are some impressive bracket fungi on the roots of this tree, and I'm also interested in that hole in the trunk just a few feet above the waterline. Let's just hope that when those young wrens fledge, they don't end up dropping into a watery grave. Look carefully at the shadow beneath the big rock at the top of the picture. You might just make out the pale forms of minnows drifting around. Well, the cuckoos have all but disappeared from the Crimple Valley. This is something you certainly wouldn't have seen 50 years ago. Red kites are now a common sight in the locality. Most of the deep pools on the beck hold a few trout, but approaching them without disturbing them is difficult. Maybe this time my luck will change. Sadly, it's another failure. During April, large patches of wood anemone can be found growing on the beck's shady banks. And a few bluebells are coming into flower. At the head of this pool, a barrier of flood debris has accumulated, consisting of assorted sticks and branches which bisect the beck. I wonder if there's a trout here. The answer is no, or at least not one that wants to eat my worm. Just a short distance downstream of the pool, an impressive stand of gorse is in full flower. It's unusual to see a bullhead away from cover. Usually these small fish spend the daylight hours hidden under rocks and stones. I'm back at the pool I fished earlier with the barrier of flood debris. This time I'm approaching it from the upstream side. The first cast is the one most likely to attract a response, but there's still a chance on the second attempt, unless it's botched as on this occasion. So let's try again and see if we can get the worm right up against that barrier of sticks. Success at last. It's a typical crimplebeck trout, 9 inches long and thickly spotted. And back it goes, Just watch it scuttle away through the shallow water.